Well, what did you end up doing the rest of the week?
Baby prepping.
That's all you gotta do, man. I'm
Well,
telling you,
baby
get a
prepping.
stealth vasectomy.
Well, yeah, but baby prepping and fixing up the house because we're getting ready to probably sell this bitch soon. And I don't know. I'm just hoping I can get a fair market value for when the housing economy pops and I lose all the value. I think the value went up 25,000 on the house since I bought it. Thank you, Californians. Thank you very much. But like we talked about in an earlier podcast, that's probably going to be affected once people start having to pay rent again and pay student loans again. So that should be interesting. But what'd you do this weekend?
Ah, garden, yard sales, stuff like that, planting. But you know, trying to
And
trying to get my heirloom seeds going and whatnot. So about it.
the back? How's your back?
Fucking sucks, man. I'm 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 wanted to go out hiking today. It was like a beautiful fucking day, and just I've got people on Twitter talking about going for hikes and this and that, and I'm just like, oh my god, I want to go out for a hike,
Mm.
and just can't cut it right now. We went to the farmers market, and just walking on the uneven ground was a bit much for me in my back.
But you got your cane, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you see what you got to do. You got to work out that one tricep really well. Just work that shit out really well and then just arm your way through the crowd. No
yeah.
problem. No problem, dude. Uh,
But about that on Twitter.
well. So, pause 1 second for station identification. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining the show. I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
This is Jake and Drake's
All
show.
all
What?
19 of you,
All 22.
all 22 of you. All right.
Yes, yes. And we have a special guest. This is Chris.
How
Hi,
you
Chris.
doing?
Welcome, welcome. Darian has something he wants to get off his chest, though, before we get to you. So,
Okay.
Normally when I see Twitter drama, I just try to ignore it
mm,
and just like roll my eyes and whatnot. But this week was a lot of fun because it kind of fell into my interests, and it was like gun Twitter was kind of a kerfuffle. I don't know if you'd call it that exactly, but basically there was a guy who happens to sell training, sniper training. Um, started talking shit, and I guess some people were calling out these other guys for talking down on people who use braces and her opposing the braces and stuff like that. And all that stemmed from the fuckwad trainers who, in Texas, actually, who are opposed to the constitutional carry,
mm-hmm.
um, stuff like that. These firearms trainers and instructors were freaking out because if constitutional carry happened, then, oh, well, it'll put us out of business. So they didn't want that to happen.
Wait, wait,
So,
wait. Okay, how's that correlation work?
well, currently they have laws that you have to take special training classes, approved training classes to be able to get your carry permit in Texas. And with constitutional carry, you don't. You can just carry your fucking gun.
Okay.
No special class needed. So these guys are freaking out. Well, oh, well, it'll put us out of business. So my take on that is if the NRA was really truly a pro 2A organization, they should revoke these instructors, you know, licenses or whatever for being instructors of the NRA certifications and stuff, because that is one of the most anti 2A statements someone can make, and they claim to be pro 2A gun instructors. That shit's bullshit. Being pro 2A isn't a business. It's a philosophy.
Agreed. I,
So
I I look at it from a capitalistic point of view, where the first thing that came to mind is if these guys are solely reliant on just training people to carry a firearm, maybe they need to evolve their business. Maybe they need to open a shooting range. Maybe they need to, instead of like focusing on, okay, we train you so you can get your license, what about like all those cool shoot houses that people set up? And you like have a
yeah,
fucking membership where you come in and you do the walkthrough and then the shoot through. Like, why not evolve your business? Like, okay, fine. If they pass this bill into a law, this part of our business will be closed. I mean, this is what all great companies do. This is what,
Yeah, well, that's the
McDonald.
whole point. These guys are fucking idiots who wrote a letter to the governor or whoever,
Mm,
uh, to your state assembly saying, "Oh, please don't pass this because it'll put us out of business." And that's just not 2A. Anyhow,
well,
so
wait,
on
wait,
Twitter,
wait. They wrote a letter to the governor.
a governor or assembly, your state assembly or somebody, they were opposing that bill.
Mm. Hold on, let me get Chris's take on this.
No,
Disinterested
I
person.
mean it's. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat though, thinking about it, because if that's strictly their method of getting by, then yeah, I mean, I can understand why they're upset. But like Jake was saying, hey, maybe you need to just rethink how your business operates to make it more marketable for that potential change. Because I mean, why not? I mean, there's still people who are going to want to need to go through training. Uh, it just may not be quite the demand that they hope for, but it's still a possibility. Hopefully people don't just decide to say, well, now it's my right to carry a gun, so I'm just going to carry a gun, and have never spent any trigger time. Like, I would
Well,
hope that they would try to get some trigger time in.
and I still advocate getting the permit anyway because that's how you get the reciprocity in states. We had talked about this a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
Idaho is a constitutional carry state. I don't need to have my permit, but I go into Washington a lot, and we have reciprocity. So with my Idaho license, I can just carry in Washington and be done. Carry in Montana and be done. So
Yeah,
so
and
that
Yeah.
so I'm I would still recommend getting the actual permit, going through the qualifications and so on. But anyhow, so it
Yeah.
started with that, and this group was talking about not just that, but I guess the like pistol braces and things like that, and bump stocks, which yeah, a lot of them are kind of stupid, but whatever. And they're like, oh well, people use their poors, they just can't afford the $200 tax or to buy a real machine gun and stuff. So the one side of the Twitter gun group were talking shit, and this sniper dude jumps in, and now it's been they've been digging into him. It looks like he might be some stolen valor because
Oh.
they kind of nailed down when he was, and it turns out like he's been, or he claims it wasn't him, but it's advertised and stuff that he is a retired Marine sniper. Well, 4 years and out is not retired. Um,
he could be medically retired.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but he didn't come up and say that.
Well, you wouldn't want to say that, like saying that you're medically discharged, or that can be. I wouldn't say that would disqualify you, but that would definitely put like an asterisk next to you. Like if you're putting it on your resume that you're medically discharged or retired from service, then people automatically think PTSD, unless they see that you're an amputee of some sort. So it's probably. I mean, first of all, it's a HIPAA. You don't really have to just tell
Right.
people, but I can play devil's advocate. I could say if I were medically discharged tomorrow, like I wouldn't say I was medically retired. I'd just be like I was retired from the service. None of your goddamn
Only with Jake,
business.
something that's supposed to take 3 minutes to summarize
It took
turns
30
into a
seconds.
20 minute turns into a 20-minute compo.
I don't know. What would you do, Chris? You get medically retired or medically discharged tomorrow? You put that on your resume?
Yeah, why not? I mean, full disclosure, why not? It's not
Well,
going to
he's
hurt you.
he's he's saying that anyway, that he didn't tell people that he's medically, or that he was retired Marine sniper. It was just they just assumed that and put it in his bio or whatever
Hmm.
that was published or some
Hmm.
shit.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, but in all the back and forth of the last several days, it kind of nailed down to when he served, and there was only one particular operation that he could have served on, and he wouldn't have seen actual combat. His combat experience was fast roping down and staying on this platform. Now, I'll admit, I don't know a lot of snipers. The only one I actually knew was very, very low key about it and did not like talking about it. And he was a Vietnam era sniper and just one of the twitchiest, squirreliest motherfuckers I ever knew. And when we did kind of sit and talk about stuff, he wasn't one of those guys who goes, bragging, oh, I got, 15 kills or whatever shit. He was just like, yeah, I did a job that had to be done. And, so I don't know. Anyhow, that was my amusement so far, but I guess it's culminating now there's some shooting competition that they're gonna meet at and see who wins, I guess.
I mean, you don't. That is so weird. That is like the. I don't know. That's like you have the Twitter dick measuring contest where people say and people say and people say and then now it's going to like, okay, we're gonna have a shooting contest, which I guess is kind of respectable, but that still doesn't prove whether or not he was in combat. Like,
No, that's what I guess people have done a Freedom of Information Act request for his DD-214 and
what is
his
that going to
like
tell
service
him?
documents.
What is that going to do? That he still has the training. Like if he went through sniper school, he still got the training for sniper school. Like
But it's different. It's different credit. If you're building a resume and reputation based on the legend of Chris Kyle or some shit when
mm,
you're really Gomer Pyle. Come on.
mm, let the Google reviews speak for themselves. Yeah, I went
Yeah.
to this class and I still can't hit the broadside of a barn. 0 stars, would not recommend. Like I mean, like if at this point in time, like everybody's on Yelp, everybody's on Google or whatever. So if I go to your shooting school and I can't defend my home, I will probably be tweeting from the hospital like not to go to your shooting school because it didn't help
And
me
I
out.
think I think one of the big points that was being made was he was bragging about training ATF agents and ATF snipers and stuff. And two-way advocates have a kind of a strong feeling about that.
Mm, I don't know.
And actually literally posted a picture of the dog target that they used.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Kind
oh
of messed up though.
yeah. Anyhow,
Ah,
so
yeah. So yeah, the reason we're all here today.
hi Chris.
Hi, Chris. So yeah, this guy is Chris. I've known him for about 3 years. He seems like a pretty good dude. He hasn't got a DUI. He hasn't stabbed anybody. He doesn't rape people. Seems like a pretty good guy. I mean, he's from what I know. He hasn't tried to rape me. So, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So
That's my job, big boy.
yeah. So why don't you just go ahead and give us like a little bit of like your background, whatever you're comfortable with coming up as a kid, school, parents, where you're from, all that jazz.
Oh, well, as you said, I'm Chris. I'm originally from Ohio, central part. Grew up kind of in the countryside a little bit, but I was in a really white collar town, college town, where I went to school at. Family was very humble beginnings, for sure, especially my family. Both my parents come from very backwoods parts of Ohio that, nobody really even knows unless you point it out on a map to them. But as opposed to the town that I mostly spent my early years in, where it was a lot of wealthy people. So obviously in these days and day and age, I'm really kind of at odds with a lot of those people because we had entirely different views. Growing up, we didn't really talk politics, really get involved in it too much or anything like that. It's just been something that's been kind of nagging at me for the last few years.
Quick question, Chris. How old
Yeah,
are
go
you?
ahead.
You say growing up. I just want to kind of place the time frame when you're growing up.
I'm 37 right now. So born in
A
the mid
late
80s.
millennial. Late
Yeah.
millennial.
I don't like to use the word millennial with myself. I prefer the alternate zennial.
Zennial.
or whatever
Thank
it is.
you. Thank you. Me too.
So there's a lot of a millennial mentality I'm not really down with. So, but yeah. Anyway, I left there when I was 18. Never moved back. been away from home pretty much this whole time for now almost 19 years. I only go back to visit the folks, and I don't really see too many people when I'm home. So just check on the family. But that's about the background in a nutshell.
So you said your parents weren't really political. Like, that's when you're growing up, or is it now that you're older and you're pretty much your own adult with your own life? Do you talk to the moms or the pops? Do they, oh, what do you think about this going on? Or do they bounce anything off you? Or do you get a vibe of maybe political affiliation, or maybe some principles, like are your parents 2A? Are they pro-choice? Or anything that you didn't know growing up that you know now, maybe because you're older and more mature, maybe they feel you're able to handle that information better than when you were younger.
No, that's probably a good point. I mean, yeah, like I said, that maybe politics shouldn't be a talk that parents should be having around their kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I know that's not how it really was growing up. We didn't really, like, I remember watching the footage of Desert Storm on TV and had no clue what it was about, and nobody ever explained it. So, but, yeah, they didn't really talk about it too much. Now, yeah, when I call back every couple of weeks or every month or so, we'll get into, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And especially with us being down here on the border, it's a real, hey, ever since, even when Trump was in office, it's like, hey, what's really going on down there? What do you see? That kind of thing. So, yeah, we talk about it a little bit more openly. We don't talk so much, the more specific topics such as 2A or pro-choice, pro-life. I don't really get into that. I mean, obviously my parents don't have any more kids after it's just me and my brother. So really, it's basically, if it doesn't really pertain to them, it's not really that big of a deal to talk about it. So now my family do own guns. With my parents living out in the country, my dad likes to exercise his, constitutional rights, and we go, a lot of the times when I'm home, we definitely shoot guns in the backyard into the open field behind us, and, at targets and into a hillside, so it's not like it's hitting anybody. But yeah, that's about it.
So what about so this recent obviously the recent election, you've been talking a lot about your political affiliation. So was this your first political affiliation? Did you have one prior to that? Did you think maybe associate with this party or that party, or not even the parties? How about like the ideals, like liberalism? I would say classical liberalism or classical conservatism, or any of those things, or is as I understand libertarianism being kind of the party / ideal that you identify with now. Was this your first party, or was your second party, third party? Like how that happened? What is it, et cetera, et cetera?
I usually started out pretty conservative because I was, we're all, the country being so strict two party, it's like it's either this or that. And I definitely am not down necessarily with that, the liberal side, the Democratic side, as you want to say. I was leaning definitely more conservative, maybe more Republican. And then it was just in recent, with this last election that I started looking at the options a little bit more heavily, and started to come to terms with more the libertarian side, that I'm probably more closely affiliated with that than I am the Republican side, and for sure more than the Democrat side by any means. But yeah, it just kind of happened upon it. And I've been, kind of looking at their background and stuff. I don't fully agree with everything that they're about, so I can't really say I'm like a true libertarian, but it's hard to say who.
Nobody is, man. No, that's the first rule of being a libertarian, is you're not a real libertarian.
Yeah, especially in the eyes of other libertarians.
Exactly.
He was the one that sent me that libertarian meme where it's like Willie talking.
I sent that to you.
Yeah, that was you. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, what are the party platforms do you disagree with?
Well, with this last election, I know I was looking at with Joe Jorgensen's platform. She was talking about the open border, and I don't agree with that policy. That's, look at where it's getting us right now, under Biden. It's
Let me
an
ask
absolute mess.
you this on that. In general, and this is one of my big issues with the libertarians as well, is it's an all or nothing kind of mentality. But if we completely got rid of the welfare state and all those programs and things like that, would you then be okay with the border being open so that the migrant workers can come in and work during the season, and then when it's off season they go home back to their families and things like that?
I guess I'd have to see how that would play out.
We already
I don't
have
really.
that program. We already have that program, though. We have migrant workers with the welfare state. They show up, they pick spinach, and they leave.
Well, right. But I'm talking about the open border. In general, that's what open borders means. However, in today's current environment, saying open borders is, well, it
It feels
means
like it's got a different meaning, though.
letting everybody come in to leech off of us.
I think
Kind
open
of.
borders.
Which is
When I think of it, I think of it like EU. That's open borders. You're in Germany. Germany's a sovereign state, but it's part of European Union. So when I'm traveling from Germany, I can go into France. No one's gonna check my passport. Nobody's gonna ask me whatever. I do my business in France and I come back to Germany because that's where I work. That's where I live.
Pretty much, exactly.
That's open borders. But
if that was the actual policy that we're seeing, then I'd be all for that. But it doesn't seem like that's what we're seeing right now.
It's not what we're seeing right now, and that's part of the problem, is that the open borders advocated by many is, letting anybody come in here and we'll take care of them. And that's the problem. If we cut out in my opinion, if we cut out all the welfare programs and things like that, absolutely, open borders would be great. That's part of being free, is just, freedom of travel. If I want to go down to Mexico for the good tequila or the good absinthe, I can just kind of wander on over there and not be bothered by fucking feds checking my bottles and taking it away from me.
No.
I will interject. I will say outside of Corona, I will say you could do that anyway. Like you can go down to Mexico with a passport and you could drink all the tequila you want. You can come back to the U.S. But, I mean, that's with the understanding that you're an American, you're white as hell. I mean, you look white as hell in your picture. I don't know what you look like now. And you don't speak any Spanish, so there's no reason for you to stay here, especially given the fact that your economy is superior to ours. So, and the other thing I will say, just because I like pissing you off, is the Constitution, as awesome as it is, and as many discussions as we had about how they are God-given, or what do you say, nature-born rights? What's that terminology you use?
Natural
rights. And natural rights.
Yeah.
Natural rights, okay, because not everybody believes in like a deity. It's that as much as you want to say that it applies to everybody, I mean, really, like, they don't have a constitution in Mexico, and if they do have a constitution in Mexico, because maybe they do, it's not what we have. Because they don't have the right to bear arms, they don't have free speech, they don't have, Fifth Amendment, they don't have Fourth Amendment, they don't, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have federalism, they don't have all the God-given natural-born rights we have. So this freedom of travel that we've often debated,
See, again, I'm just in case, our lovely guest has not heard the position.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution doesn't grant us shit.
No, it doesn't.
The Constitution
Affirms.
The intent of that was to restrict the government from infringing on these natural rights, and natural rights apply to everyone.
No, it applies. It applies to everybody that lives in the states. So it's
natural rights apply to everyone. Natural rights are natural rights.
But I can't.
A person living in Soviet Russia still has natural rights. Now their government may infringe on those natural rights.
That's where we disagree on, because we can't declare that there's no such thing as, like, in the U.S. If you deny someone the right to vote, and obviously they're not a felon and they meet the criteria, then that's a constitutional right you've infringed upon. But like if they do it in Russia, like first of all, that's not their right. They live in Russia. Russia is a different sovereign country. So the country of the U.S., that Constitution affirms the rights, as you have reminded me several times, that the states have between each other with the federal government. So we United States, in reality, each state is its own country because they're all different, right? And
Oh, one can pray and hope.
well, I mean, I don't pay state taxes here, bro. Just saying. So we all are all our own different countries, and we unite to make this big country. And our agreement is we will be ruled by these people as long as these are, our conditions. And if these conditions listed, by the way, all these conditions are made on, the federal government's, like, hey, these are our rights. These are our rights. You can't take them away from us. Anything not listed in these rights, anything not listed in the Constitution given to the federal government are states' rights. So, and just so you know, Chris, it's like, so his thing is that's what he says, and I say, well, you can't impose the Constitution on people in South Africa. You can't impose it on people in. Yes, sure. We all agree that people should be able to defend themselves and people should be able to freely speak, but we all know if you freely speak in Russia, you may never be heard from again. And
that is because their government, the state, there is infringing on their natural rights.
But who are you to say? I'm saying, like, who are you to say that those are natural rights? How are you the arbiter of rights? You're not. That's my whole point. It's like you could say, I mean, Chris, I'm sure you've been to the Middle East a couple times. You've seen what older men do to younger boys, and that's completely kosher over there. It's not kosher over here.
Does it make it right?
No.
How do you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you know that you're right? So, go back 300 years, 40-year-old me can have babies with a 14-year-old girl. That was completely legal. That was completely right. That was moral.
No, it was legal. It does not make it moral or right.
Well, I would beg to differ, and I'd say, as smart as the average voter base is right now, like I don't.
Was slavery moral?
No, it wasn't. But you're picking one thing.
But it was legal.
You're picking one thing.
I'm just using that. Saying something is legal does not make it moral.
Okay, let me ask you this: Does this having guns is having guns moral?
Defending yourself is so.
You can defend
if the gun is your
defend yourself with a knife, you can defend yourself with your fist.
If the gun is your choice of weapon to defend yourself and your family and property, then yes, it is moral.
I live in Germany. Somebody starts a fight with me at a pub. We get in a fist fight. I beat him up with my fist. I defended myself. Game over. I don't need a gun. But see, what I'm saying is that morality depends on the culture, and the culture depends on the region. So you can't say that we are the arbiters of morality. We aren't. That depends on the culture. It depends on where you live. So do I honestly think that raping a boy or a girl, do I think that's right? No, I don't. But like I can't extend my beliefs to a totally different different religion, different culture, different region of the world, and I can't say I'm right and you're wrong. I can't do that. I mean, you're talking about a country that has less than 400 years of history and a country that has like 2,000 to 3,000 years of history. It's completely different. So I agree with you in one sense, but I disagree in another. I don't know. What do you think, Chris? What do you think? I mean, you don't have to pick a side. You just tell us what you think.
Well, I mean, it is a tough little thing when it comes to the whole morality, but it is kind of the culture too. I mean, it was, Nazi Germany, it was perfectly okay to, kick Jewish people out of their homes, out of their businesses, hate on them. I know here, the slavery thing, as was already brought up, it was perfectly legal to do that. It was perfectly legal back, not even 50, 60 years ago to segregate people by race in schools. And was it moral? No. I mean, we look at it now and it's just like, okay, why do we do that? But that was the culture of the time.
But it was the culture. So where do you get morality from, though?
I don't know, you're looking at it like now. Like me now, growing up, I look back on how, we were taught about, okay, slavery, this was a really bad thing. And that's what I go off of. Yes, slavery is. Why would you need to own another human being? That just, especially with the ideals of this country, why do we ever do that? And why did we ever get to the point where we look down upon these people, 100, 200 years later, still giving them hell about their life in the United States? And why was it moral then? It shouldn't have been, but it was.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I take the stance of, I can sit there and I can say, in my eyes, that is their culture. I don't agree with their culture, just like some cultures don't eat pork. Some cultures, blah, 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 blah. Some more egregious than others, obviously, but that is their culture. I think it's wrong, but I can't say that my shit applies to them. I can't. I really can't. Now, if they live in a sovereign country that I happen to share with them, and they continue to do things that, because, our politics is driven by culture. So at some point, the culture changed from, marrying somebody at 14 there was no ability to consent. So that's wrong. At some point we said, whatever was wrong. And then there was a law that, like, culture influenced the politics to where there was a law made. Whether that culture was culture between, what do you call that, a collective, or that culture was between, like, a religious background, whatever it was. But that's where we are. That's not where they are. I can't impose the freedom of speech on another country. That's a sovereign country. They have their own culture. They have their own religions. They have their own idiosyncrasies. Like, so to me, I agree with Darian in the subset of the United States. You just have a bunch of countries like the EU. I could travel freely between Texas and Oklahoma. I can't travel freely between Texas and Mexico because Mexico is a sovereign state. Texas is a subset of a sovereign state. It's not entirely a sovereign state. Now, when someone crosses from Mexico into Texas, it's not that they crossed a subset of it. Now you're talking about a country, which is in itself its own sovereign state. But moving on. So what is your take on the current Libertarian Party?
Well, unfortunately, it's very, I guess I would say, fractured, or it's just
That's
they're
putting
still
it
not
mildly.
very. Yeah, they're not exactly very organized, and I know I've had these discussions with other people as well when it comes to their whole idea that they're shooting for the high position when they don't have a lot of people in the low position to even help kind of back them. We don't have a lot of libertarians at the local leadership, state leadership, stuff like that. Where so why are we shooting for the presidency right off the bat without a whole lot of support or even representation within our Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, any of that stuff? Why are they going for those high positions like that without establishing themselves more as a contender, I guess, against the Republicans and Democrats? So, I mean, I wish it wasn't so. They do got some really good platforms, but they don't have that backing yet.
The biggest problem I saw was when I went to a state convention, and just like any party, the people who wanted to be in charge were probably not the people who should be in charge. They're the ones who had that desire to be the authority. And inherently, with the libertarian principles, there shouldn't be any real authority over the individual. And that's what really bothers me, and bothered me for a long time about the Libertarian Party itself. But then moving on and seeing the different factions within LP National, just it's disheartening. And I'm ready to go pretty much full on anarchist and just say, fuck everybody, black pill me, I'm black pilled, and gonna just not fucking vote. I'm gonna live in my shack in the woods and grow my food and shoot my game and I don't know, maybe write a manifesto in my spare time.
No, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people who are starting to look that way too. Unfortunately, the other half is looking at becoming communists. So
That's the
What?
they don't fucking
Wait,
get it.
wait. How do you go from libertarianism to communism? I don't care who, Chris, Darian. I don't care. Like, take it from
That's
I
like the
just
fourth faction out there now.
yeah,
Wait.
they're gaining steam out there, and it's mostly, unfortunately, it's people around our age, Jake. Surprisingly, actually, I figured it'd be more, people who just came out of college, and after they spend a few years in the real world, they realize that that's not a good thing. But there are people, literally 30s, 40s. They're all starting to look at socialism and communism as a viable alternative to what we currently have.
Is that based on the fact that is it okay? Is that based on the party fracturing, or is that based on? I mean, like, what? Okay, I don't know anything about this libertarian thing, so
No. It's not
No,
libertarian.
not libertarian.
no. But you said they were libertarians, and essentially they're black pilling, and they're not going anarchist. They're looking at
No.
okay, back it up.
No, I'm not talking about. When he was talking about anarchism, I said he wasn't alone, but I wasn't speaking strictly party line libertarian. I'm just speaking as a generality in the United States.
Okay.
I know people that are just like, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to move to Wyoming, um, set up my little farm, and I'm just going to mind my own business and hope the government stays the hell out of my way.
But how's that communism though? Like,
No,
where's the
I'm not saying that. That was the extreme he was talking about. Maybe
Right.
not so much the extreme,
Yeah.
but then the other extreme is full on. Hey, we need to make everybody. We need distribution of wealth. We need, government needs to be fully involved in everything. That kind of thing. That's what's happening.
All those TikTok commies are gonna get a real shock though when they realize that the hammer in that hammer and sickle represents like manual fucking labor, and that they're
No,
not gonna get to
absolutely.
just sit around and be fucking poets and whatever influencers. That's
So just so I understand, and maybe some other people watching, so the party is fracturing because, in one sense, you're talking about libertarianism should be about the individual, but there's somebody wanting to take control of everything. But isn't that like the
well,
point of having like a political party? Is you kind of like you have that I don't want to say republicanism, but you have that representation where everybody says, yeah, that guy is going to represent us and what we want, right?
no,
And
that was just where I got disillusioned with the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
The fracturing is coming from the different aspects, I guess, the different flavors of libertarianism, which is the hardline, the more anarchist side, which is, no government, abolish the government, everybody, just go do your own shit, free markets, blah, blah, blah. And then the kind of centrist minarchists, which are more minimal government, free markets, yada, yada. And then the newer wave, which really seem more to be more leftist than libertarian, but oh well, you can't say the language police. Oh, you can't say XYZ because it's offensive to this group or whatever. It's like, okay, well, sorry, but hey, that's offensive to my group, or and they're kind of doing that whole uh, PC shtick, with the party, and they've actually managed to infiltrate quite a bit and attain some authority within the Libertarian Party. And I think it was just a couple weeks ago that Pennsylvania had their convention and ended up using old statutes and things to basically keep the people who are trying to get rid of these uh, anarcho-communist types to kind of boot them out of position. They use that to keep them from voting. So they were preventing long-standing members from voting over procedural technicalities. It's bullshit.
Okay.
I know too much about this shit too, and I don't want to.
Chris, do you have anything to say about that? I'm like bewildered. I don't know. Anything?
No, I mean it is what it is. That's all I can say. It's unfortunate because, like I said, I mean there is a lot of fracturing, and it's crazy too because even the Republican Democrat parties are starting to show that too. From what I've been seeing on the news and online.
That gives me hope. That actually gives me hope that people are finally starting to wake up and realize that the parties don't actually represent them. And fingers crossed, we'll have the great divorce, and each state will actually be able to operate itself. And DC can then become a state if it wants to, and do its own little jerk off, and has nothing but politics, so it probably wouldn't want to actually do that. It'd probably want to get absorbed into one of the other states, but
No.
See, I have a problem with that. I really do. And
With DC becoming a state?
No, like with having like splintering parties is like I don't know, Chris. So think of anything you like. Anything. Like your ideal lifestyle. Like what time you wake up, what time, you actually go to work, what you do in your free time, how much free time you have, everything, what you like to eat. And it's like there's always I don't want to say a check and a balance, but there's always a pro and a con maybe. And sometimes you just, like, every decision you make, there's a pro and a con to it. So the way I look at it is you have, let's say, a belief system, and your belief system is maybe you're pro 2A, but at the same time you're pro-choice, but at the same time you're freedom of speech, and maybe so you have, like, let's say you have like 5 major platforms you stand on. Like, these are your 5 ideals, okay? And you look at like the Democrat Party, and maybe they cover like 2 of 5. And let's say you look at the Republicans, and maybe they cover 3 of 5. And you look at the Libertarians, and they cover 4 of 5. And you have one end where you're like everything or nothing. And I like to think that some people think that way. They like to think like, I need everything in my platform. Otherwise, you're not getting my vote, you're not getting my support, and then they just drop off the face of the map. And then you have the other people where they're like, well, you know what, as long as global warming and as long as socialism, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't give a fuck about reproductive stuff. I don't give a fuck about guns. I don't give a fuck about free speech. I just want climate change, and so they're going to vote Democrat. Because they got their 2 of 5. And someone else is going to be like, well, 4 or 5 ain't good enough for me. So you know what? I'm just not going to vote. So that guy's not going to vote. But if that guy would have chosen between party 1, 2, or 3, we'll even say...
Dude, I do not regret not voting for Trump.
Nobody was talking about you, but, you sound like... I legit was not talking about you. I know other people that do this. So you have people that are willing to recognize that. I mean, when we look at bills that are made in the House, in the Senate, they always talk about bipartisanship, right? Because there's only 2 parties in power, right. And more often than not, the Republicans cave, and then now that the Republicans just don't have a leg to stand on, they don't have the House, the Senate, or the executive branch. They just, you know what I mean? It's just like they can die on that hill, they'll get outvoted. They can die on that other hill, they'll get outvoted. And then, but what I'm saying is, if people would look at politics like they look at everyday life, it's like, well, this is me. This is my basic compromise. My compromise is, okay, I can go to bed right now and I can get 6 to 7 hours of sleep. But I haven't played Call of Duty with my boys in like 2 weeks. You know what? It's fucking Monday. That's going to be the toughest day of the work. But, dude, I can drink 2 bangs and get through it. You know what? I'm playing with the boys tonight. Hey, babe, I love you, but I'll see you in bed at 3 a.m. and everything about life in general, whether it's your life partner.
So let me interject something. So when Jake comes dragging ass in on a Monday morning, now you know why.
Well, yes.
But we won't go there.
but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying life is full of compromise. People just don't realize it. And you have like
No.
all these absolutists, whether they're Republican absolutists or Democrat, mostly libertarian, okay? Because libertarians are a super small set of the sample. Like you have these people, like if they sat there and they looked at Pro 2A, they could say, okay, well, Trump banned bump stocks, so Trump's not Pro 2A, and then you have
Want me to go down the list again?
Hold on. Then you have 18 people in the Democratic National Convention that are like, we're going to ban guns. All of them said they were going to ban guns. That's what they said in my first 100 days. And then, you know, you want to talk about 2A, you could feel how you want about 2A. But like there's all these things. And you what you get is you get absolutionists that don't want any compromise. And you know who you end up sounding like? You sound exactly like the neoliberalist, who's like, you go ask him, and it's like, oh, can we compromise? Sure. You know, there's a couple of YouTube videos. I recommend you go check them out. And there's a couple guys who go out there. It's like, oh, hey, are you down with compromising? They're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, what about pro-life or pro-choice? Oh, that's not up for debate. Okay, what about climate change? Oh, that's not up for debate. It's like, okay, well, what about the Second Amendment? Like, no, nobody should have. So it's like they want absolutionism. They want absolute everything their way. They aren't willing to budge. They aren't willing to compromise. And I'm not digging the Libertarian Party, but this is one of two libertarians you have. You have one that is like essentially absolutionism. Like we want these 25 platforms. We want no compromise, nothing. And then you have the other ones that essentially, you know, they're just like, well, yeah, whatever. I'm just not going to vote this year. And it's like, dude, all right, check it out. I understand that your party isn't where you thought it would be, but when did the party start? It started like in the 1900s. Okay, these two parties have been around since like the fucking 1700s. So get over it. You know, market some more. I don't know what to tell you, but to me, it's like people don't like saying choose the lesser of two evils. I tend to lean like if the Democrats were gonna say we're gonna protect more of your constitutional rights, I would have voted Democrat. I mean, I like to believe that people, when they tell me they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Shame on me. But, you know, when Joe Biden says he's going to take my guns, I kind of believe that. When he says we're going to tax the shit out of you, I tend to believe that. You know, so that's what I believe. And this absolutionism is what's going to give us, you know, people not voting. And even if we do vote, and it would be a miracle if we had 27 different parties in the House of Representatives. That'd be awesome. You think nothing gets done now? Wait till we have 27 different parties of absolutionism. Nothing will ever get done. Ever.
Well, and
because
that's
no
the
one
issue
will
that they
compromise.
run into. That's the issue they typically run into in a lot of European countries, and that's what a lot of people in this country don't notice.
Exactly.
But they will gladly advocate for that. Oh, we need, 11 parties. And I'm like, have you been to Poland? They've got 11 parties. It is not exactly working out. So, well, that was one. I know one of the things we talked about, probably back, prior to the election, was, if we had a way to, there was a method to keeping the two-party system, but hey, a third party, other parties are there, but say more of them get voted for than another party, and that other party's out for that time. But I'm not saying that's 100% solution. It's just something I had thought about once. And it's like, hey, if the Libertarians end up overtaking the Democrats in votes during a presidential election year, why not make them the second party for a little while and see how it goes? But
I am all for that. I am all for that, Chris. All for that. I just think that everybody needs to slow their fucking roll, and I think everybody just needs to realize that you don't get what you want.
Absolutely.
Life gives you a shit sandwich. At least you got a fucking sandwich, bro. At least you got something to eat. Fucking eat it. Try better next time. Do what you can, but don't sit there on your fucking thumbs and refuse to do anything because you didn't get your way. You sound like a fucking 5-year-old. That's the way I look at it.
And that's the absolutism that's happening right now.
So if my choice then is to go live on my property, be left the fuck alone, is that not eating the shit sandwich as you're calling it?
Well, you didn't vote. So yes, that you didn't do anybody good. Like,
Why am
so
I? What good am I required to do? Where does the Constitution say that I have to fucking vote?
It doesn't say anything anywhere. But Winston Churchill was a genius, and evil will succeed when good men stand by and do nothing. So if you have an opportunity,
But I'm not doing nothing.
You didn't vote.
So that's
Okay,
not
so
doing anything.
You
The
did
system
do
is
something.
broken.
Okay. All right. Say that's
What I am doing is I am taking care of the individual and my family and trading with my neighbors
so. Let me ask you
and
this.
creating a counter economy because the current economy and current system is corrupt.
Well,
that is absolutely doing something. It's an active positive choice to not participate in the existing corrupt fucked up system.
No, I agree. But let me run this by you. So, Trump lost the election by about 40,000 votes. Okay? That's a fact. So, there was how many libertarians? Let's just go far out here. There was like
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's about 2 million libertarians, right? And then we're not even counting the people that didn't vote. So this was the highest turnout ever, but we still didn't have 100% turnout. So between libertarians and the people that didn't vote, which were tens of millions, okay, tens of millions of people that didn't know when to vote, didn't care to vote, reasons, okay? So let's ignore the irregularities, the election fraud. Let's ignore all that, okay? So by not doing anything, by not voting or voting libertarian, this is my argument, is you voted for higher taxes. You voted for 2A restrictions. You voted for pro-choice or pro-life, however you see it. These are things you voted for because you didn't vote. Because you voted for a party that didn't really, it had a platform, but it didn't have the notoriety. It didn't have enough of a base to actually make an impact against one party or the other. And because you didn't make an impact against one particular party, then it didn't help out the other party. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying everything in life is a compromise. Whether you think about it or not, consciously or not, everything is a compromise. And I'm not saying vote for Trump 2024. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the next time you vote or choose not to vote or choose to vote for a party that has less than 1% of the popular vote, like think about that. Look at what your platform is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 25. And if your party isn't on the ticket to be on CNBC or CNN or Fox, if you can't even get that, you kind of have to vote with a party. Because you're one of 4 people I know that's a libertarian, Darian, and everybody was like, well, I'm changing the system by voting libertarian, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're not. You're just fucking the rest of us that have like 75% of the same views. Like, okay, we may disagree.
So if I agree with Biden more than Trump, you would have wanted me to vote Biden?
Yes, absolutely.
Or would you want me to vote my fucking conscience?
No, well, vote your conscience, fine, but you're not always going to get what you want, bro. You're going to ask for no onions, and you're going to get onions. You're going to go complain to the manager. They're going to tell you to fuck off. We got your money. You're going to write a bad review, and they're going to pay someone to delete it. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? like that's my point. My point is until the Libertarian Party is at least like 10 or 20% of the vote, you don't have a leg to stand on. And what I do is I just look at where do my Constitution rights? Where are my first 10 amendments? Which party is saying what about my first 10 amendments? And that's... when I was younger, I just voted Republican because, fuck my parents. But as I got older, I was like, well, maybe I should pay attention to this more. And that's what I do. Don't do what I do. But what I'm saying is sitting there thinking that you're going to get this perfect political party that's going to get into office and do everything you want. That is the reason why people are disenfranchised to vote in the first place. My vote doesn't matter, blah, blah. Because they think about it wrong. Like, you need to think about your politics like you think about your wife, like you think about your life. And that is, you don't get everything you want. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you're going to go with the odds.
No, absolutely. I will say that, this was actually my first election that I even bothered to really put a lot of stock into. And honestly, I think if there's anybody that's disenfranchised about the voting, it's not necessarily about hey, I voted this way and I never seem to get, what I'm voting for, or, whatever, like libertarians, like you're saying, we're never going to get there, or at least we're not going to get there anytime. Sorry. We only took like what 1%, 1 point, like 1 to 1.5% of the vote. But anyway, I know a lot of people that they're disenfranchised mostly because of the fact that they vote for something and then nothing ever happens. Look at all the people that voted for Biden right now. Maybe there's a bunch of people who voted for Biden are absolutely perfectly happy with how everything's going, but I'd be interested to actually talk to somebody about that sometime.
I'm seeing a lot.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I'm seeing a lot of that too. The buyer's remorse, where they're like, "What the fuck? We had heard about like $15 minimum wage and all these progressive policies and so on and so forth, and none of it's happening." So.
That's what I see a lot too. Everyone was all about, oh, he's going to get our student loans repaid, and of course a lot of the posts like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now we're what? This is May. 4 months. 4 months has gone by and nobody's student loans have been repaid. No one's getting $15 an hour minimum wage yet, or it's supposed to go for federal employees. Allegedly, I don't know if that ever got passed, but obviously that's not going to affect most of the people I have in my, on my social media. Most of those people just live in small town America, or, maybe some of the larger cities, but they're just like, well, when's he going to do that for me? When's he going to do that for me? And it's like, you voted for that. Did you really think it was going to happen? Or were you just voting because, you just didn't want Trump in office?
That's pretty much it. They were just voting against Trump.
And that's basically all I see is just like, oh, well, at least we got Trump out of office. I'm like, okay, but do you actually like what's happening right now?
What's that meme going around? Is like, I could take a mean tweet for $1.79 gas. So, based on what you see in your life and when you go back home, like what do you think about the way that the youth thinks about politics right now?
Excuse me, sorry, my phone's getting close to death. Guess I should have planned for that. But what was your question again, sir?
The way that the youth thinks about politics. Obviously, you kind of hinted at communism. Is that? I mean, that's what you're hearing. What do you see?
Well, unfortunately, I don't see a lot of youth much these days. I will say that my son got a little politically charged during the election period, and he was outspoken against Trump a little bit, mostly because of his hypocrisy on mask wearing, which that's kind of paraphrasing. Trump's out there saying, hey, wear your mask or don't wear your mask. He's not wearing a mask. Like, and that was all it took for my son. But that was one of the learning points I decided to take was like, hey, if you're gonna start getting, very active like that, just about one thing, make sure you're reading the whole story, not just looking at it from, something so simple or whatever, because he's also living in a college town with his mom who was going to school at the time. So, I mean, that's just one thing. Like you're saying, like, look at everything else, though. And do you even understand everything else that's happening?
How old is he?
He's 12 now.
He's at the impressionable age where they're going to start absorbing stuff like that from schools and so on.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's the unfortunate part with not having my kids around a lot. So I don't know exactly what they're being exposed to all the time.
Yeah. That's a completely different topic. I hate saying this, but you would have thought that the left would have stopped at universities. You would have thought that they stopped at certain things. But like you said way earlier in the podcast, that like you not having to deal with politics as a kid, I think that's, you know, that's where you draw the line, right? You draw the line at getting married at like 14, right? You're like, no, 17 in some states, 18 in some states. That's when you make your decisions. But indoctrinating kids into politics, like, dude, just let a kid be a kid. You know, like, don't tell the kid that the climate's, you know, the Earth's gonna die in 12 years, or, you know, don't tell them that Republicans are racist or whatever other things you hear on the news. Just let a kid go out and play kickball. Let a kid go out and fucking skin their knees. Let a kid play PlayStation, for fuck's sake. Let a kid be a kid. Like, there's no reason.
Do they even allow kickball anymore?
Why wouldn't they?
They're allowing kickball. They're not allowing dodgeball in a lot of places.
Let a kid be a kid. Don't tell your kids
Well,
to vote one way or the other.
That's. I mean, we got politics is hitting everything so hard now. I mean, you got it in schools, you got it in sports, you got it in. I mean, literally everything, and you can't even get away from it unless you just stop looking at your phone. Don't even turn on TV.
Hey, we talked about that.
Yeah.
So where do you see this libertarian ship going? Best guess, best guesstimate.
I mean, like I said, they got a lot of good platforms. If they don't get organized, they're not going anywhere. That's the way I see it. If they actually manage to get their shit together, maybe they can start being a contender. Maybe, like you were saying, you know, if they started taking, you know, 20-25% of the vote, then people would actually probably start taking them seriously. But, you know, right now, I mean, honestly, when I voted for them, you know, for the Libertarian Party this last election, I knew there was probably no chance in hell, you know. But I did at least want to see something to show that they were a worthwhile contender. And unfortunately, that's not what we got.
So if you were in charge of the party, Darian, we'll go with Darian first. You're in charge of the party. You got to overhaul it. Get 10% of the vote next general election. What are you doing?
Stepping down, because I don't want to be an authoritarian. Straight up. I was actually asked to run for local office with the Libertarian Party, and I want zero to do with authority over others.
So you're this guy that bitches about the party, but you know, you remind me of a lot of guys I work with. You bitch about
I don't want, no, I don't, I bitch about the party. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be authority over others. I bitch about the party because it's not what I want to associate with.
Okay.
And I don't want to join it and associate with it to
let me rephrase
jerk
it.
off and
Let me rephrase it. You're not running. You're not the candidate. You are the marketer. You are the guy in charge of where the money's going to get your points out. Like that's you're in charge of getting the Libertarian Party to 5-10% in the next general election.
Gotcha. Get rid of the new wokeness movement going on in it. Go back to the cores of individualism, and that the individual is the most important minority in existence, and just define the platform. You know, we've got all, like, you know, we've got all these different factions, as Chris pointed out also, that, you know, are spitting different messages, and it's confusing. So, you know, if I'm the one in charge, have all the different marketing materials, so to speak, kind of focus on specific core issues, and that would be basically be the Mises Caucus. So, you know, their platform. Fuck identity politics.
What was that?
Fuck identity politics. Fuck the Fed.
What caucus was that called?
The Mises Caucus.
Mises?
Austrian economics, and just basically the individual, you know, property rights, you know, fuck the Fed, stop printing fucking money, for God's sake. That's the
Yeah.
most easy, underhanded way of taxing people without taxing them. I was seeing, like used cars. This, guy bought a 2018 truck or truck new in 2018 for 24,000, and then traded it in with 50,000 miles this year for 35,000, and because of the devaluing of the dollar. And then you and I kind of disagree a little about this stuff, Jake, but the whole war and empire building, fuck that. Bring our guys back home, take care of our own shit.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. But I did say, I said there is some. I don't think like we should be fighting a war for 20 years. I think maybe that requires better generals, maybe better politicians. Who knows? But I do think that obviously, if we need to go occupy a country that we are allies with, like if Kuwait was getting invaded again, that's our ally. And remember, we don't have allies. We have like people with common interests. So, but that
Oil?
was well, yeah, but we went over why oil was an interest. Like we went over why the dollar is the world currency. It was because of the petrodollar. So we have an agreement to protect those people if they sell oil in only dollars, and everybody wants to buy oil from Kuwait or Qatar or Saudi Arabia, they have to acquire dollars. So how do they acquire dollars? They have to trade with the U.S. to get dollars to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it is what it is, but no, I mean, Chris, what would you do if you were in charge of steering the Libertarian Party into the right direction? You're not Joe Jorgensen. You're not taking her spot. You're the chief campaigning officer, chief marketer, whatever. Or what are you doing?
Like I was kind of pointing to earlier, it's just we got to start, marketing at the lower levels first. We got to get a name made for ourselves to see that, hopefully these guys can get things done, and actually establish some faith in the party first, and then start going for the bigger seats, state Congress positions, or even I think there was one that actually showed up in my home state, was on the ticket. I don't know if he actually got elected though, but they're so rare out there. It seems like, I mean, they might talk, but they're just not out there with a name yet. So you really got to market them at a lower level, and then work your way up.
I actually agree with you. I did say that a while ago. I said, I was talking with Darian. I said, like you guys are like going for the jugular right away. I was like, you need to like start small, win like municipalities, work your way up, make a name for yourself. It's gonna take a couple decades, 50 years or so, but you got to start low. And you get, because this brand name recognition, you're not getting out there because you're not getting CNN time, you're not getting MSNBC time, you're not getting Fox time. I mean, you have. What's up?
Yeah, we were. I mean, well, with Joe Jorgensen, at least she was getting enough. She was getting a lot of social media attention, but unfortunately, it wasn't getting beyond that. Mostly local news. That's
he would have torn up at the debates too.
Oh, absolutely.
Which she would have torn up at the presidential debates if she was afforded the opportunity.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if she was given that chance, it would have been a spectacle to see.
What was the rule, by the way? What's the rule to get on the stage? That was something else we talked about, Darian.
5%.
You had to be on what? On all 50 states ticket,
mm-hmm.
And there was something else because she did get all 50 states.
Have 5%. The party's got to get 5% of the vote or something like that.
No, which you can't. Or was it 5% in the polls?
No, more than that. Or wasn't
there was something? There was something with the polling that you had to be registering so much in the polls. But the issue was that a lot of the places that you need them to be in the polls, they weren't even being recognized on.
Yeah. Well, I know that was a bit happening with a lot of the Democratic candidates in the Democratic primary. Was, I remember Tulsi got shafted that way,
mm-hmm.
Where you've got to be polling on at this percent, and then when she actually made that threshold, then they bumped it up. And then the next poll didn't even have her. They weren't even asking, "Oh, who would you vote for?" Harris or Biden, kind of thing.
No,
it's all yeah. it's all shady and bullshit, and that is why I don't want to participate in it anymore.
Mm. I don't know.
Yeah, this year has definitely proved that the rules can be changed very quickly and very discreetly. I don't agree with that at all. There definitely it should not be something that happens. You know, if you start to shake the foundations of the system, then so be it. But you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with everything you said. I just the way I look around that is I'm like, well, at the end of the day, involuntarily my money's taken away from me. Like at least I want to try to influence it, how my money's spent, how my rights are protected, and um, to me, my mentality is like I don't want to give up until I'm dead. You know, I I could be in a bad financial situation, a bad life situation. Like I will just try until I am physically or mentally unable to try. And so, as long as I have air in my lungs, as long as I have the will to live, and I have legs and arms that function, like I will do what I can to influence change, whether that's wasting an hour or two of my time standing in line to vote for somebody that may not change anything. At least I can say I tried. At least I can say I did my part to what I thought was right. But what I cannot live with personally is not trying and not doing anything to influence in my minor little sphere of influence. I just not doing anything, because becoming completely apathetic is almost like losing a will to live, because everybody lives for like a reason, a purpose. You know, everybody, like whether you realize it or not, there's a reason that you exist. If there's no reason that you're existing right now, if you're not trying to save up money, trying to pay off your house, your truck, trying to rear your children, trying to, buy land somewhere, move somewhere, make your life better so you can enjoy the last days that you breathe there, then, I don't want to say it, but we all know what I'm going with. Like there is a reason why you live. And if you get to a
You know
point,
what? Let me ask you this on that. Why is suicide a crime or attempted suicide?
is it a crime?
Hmm.
It is here.
I mean, that's so
Because you're
helpful.
stealing from the state. We are serfs to the state.
Mm-hmm.
We're all tax slaves,
So
man.
so
And
if I attempted to suicide
you're stealing from the
and
government
I failed, I would be treated in a psychiatric hospital and then I'd be sent to prison. That's what you're telling me.
or kept in a psychiatric hospital accruing
Well,
debt,
well,
and
well,
then
well.
until you're medicated and better, I'm making air quotes, and then released to work off said debt as a tax slave.
Okay, but all right. So you made a point, and my point is, like, if you don't live with a purpose, then why are you living? That's my point. So everything you do, and I tell you this, like I tell you this as someone that goes to work and I come home and I work when I get home, and I try to pay my bills on time and I try to make sure that everybody's happy. That's what I do. Um, I can always do more. I can donate some of my spare change, not buy more guns, not buy video games. I can always, but like voting to me, that influences my rights. That influences where my tax dollars go. You could be right, Darian. In the grand scheme of things, we could be like the Matrix, bro. We could be plugged in and nothing matters. You could be right. You could be, but I could be right too. And if I'm right, guess what? If in your scenario where you're right, it doesn't matter either way. But in my scenario, at least if I'm right, then you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just choose to do nothing, in my scenario, you're losing. You're not even fighting for your own rights. But in your
But in, in,
scenario,
in my in my scenario, I'm refusing to recognize the claimed authority over me. I am growing my own food. I am participating in counter economics with my neighbors
mm-hmm,
and bypassing, uh, you know, sales taxes and shit like that, and living my life the way I want to without interference.
Mm.
I'm choosing to, my dream is to just not participate in that whole, all that fucking bullshit anymore. And yeah, you're probably right. Somebody, some alphabet agency will probably come over and Ruby Ridge me or something.
I did
But,
not say that. I hope they don't.
but, possibly trained by that Twitter guy Twitter sniper.
Hmm.
But, fuck that. My whole thing is I want to just live, be left alone, enjoy my life, enjoy my garden, enjoy my little farm and homestead, and just be left the fuck alone.
I agree. I want to be
Why
left.
can't the government do that?
I agree. I want to be left alone too. I do. I want smaller government. I want less taxes. And guess what? Like that's what I voted for. Final question for you. Is the Orange Man bad? Or was the Orange Man bad? Chris.
I really didn't think he was all that bad. I mean, okay, yeah. So he's not. He wasn't a politician, and honestly, I enjoyed that fact. It gives a little bit of a different kind of hope for some other people too. It's like, well, you don't have to have that political background to become president. I mean, granted, he came from a wealthy background, so that definitely probably helped. But he didn't act political, and that's, I think, a lot of people's issue with him. Is he didn't act like the typical presidential candidate or the president. His attitude toward the job was a little different. But honestly, I think that's what we needed.
And as a whole, I guess, how would you rate his foreign policy? How would you rate his economic policy? I mean, like everything you could think you could rate a president on, even his presidentialness. Like, when you think of that man, what do you think of?
I don't know if I fully understand. We want to rephrase that a little bit.
Okay, so how about so on his economic policy? Was he good or bad?
I think it was pretty good. I mean, obviously you can't predict what happened with COVID, and that obviously had an effect. But you can't blame that on him.
So the foreign policy. How do you think he did with NAFTA 2.0? How do you think he did with the Middle Eastern countries? How do you think he did with EU? How do you think he was overall?
I think him being blunt about a lot of these policies was actually very, very refreshing. Especially, I was in Europe when a lot of those conferences were going on, and the fact that he was basically saying, "Hey, we've been, NATO partners for, X amount of years, and it seems like we've been footing the bill for everything for a long time. When y'all going to pitch in and actually do something?" Calling them out, that was definitely needed. Working toward peace in the Middle East, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, basically making good on promises that have been made for the last 40 years, or 20 years at least. It was all seemed to be bonuses. Now, that a lot of people probably don't agree with that. Maybe there's other details about it that they don't agree with at all. But what we're seeing right now, I mean, Biden basically, trying to bring Iran back to the table. This is a country that actively engages in trying to kill our soldiers in Iraq and Syria, Kuwait. I mean, this guy wants to go to the table with them and negotiate. We're supposed to be a country that doesn't negotiate with terrorists, and that's what Trump was. He was just like, we're not negotiating with these people. Why? So.
And then I guess finally, how would you rate him on his presidentialness? I guess the perceived notion of what a president should be by popular, like social media and et cetera, et cetera.
No, obviously he was very popular. I mean, he still garnered quite a bit of the vote, and even in 2020. But yeah, he did ruffle a lot of feathers. And so, I mean, I don't think I'd probably put him up there. I mean, I don't really know going into the presidentialness of any other former presidents, but I would put him probably close to Reagan, maybe.
You were around for Bush. You were around for Obama. I mean, you were around for
I would
Clinton.
definitely put him over Obama.
Well,
I didn't really pay too much attention to Clinton, though. That was the issue. I mean, you couldn't help but pay attention when the whole scandal broke out, but other than that, his policies, I didn't really understand them all or didn't really pay attention or care because, again, I was a kid just trying to be a kid. You know, there were people I grew up with that were, you know, fully involved in politics, even in like second, third, whenever he got elected. That was what, 90?
92?
92.
92, 96,
So,
96, 2000.
Yeah,
so
so I was
92.
in second grade. And I saw that then, and I was just like, what the hell is wrong with you people? You're second graders. Who the hell cares who the president is at this age?
I meant to ask
I used to make fun of those people.
did you guys have like the presidential voting thing when y'all were in school? Did you guys like mock vote for the president?
Yeah. Actually, that was the first year I remember doing it was second grade, and I had all these people who were all about Clinton and Gore, and I don't really remember too much about. Again, I grew up in a very liberal town, so Clinton and Gore, that was the ticket, and to make fun of those people, I was like, screw that. Let's vote for Ross Perot, not knowing a damn thing about him. So
he was like the OG libertarian, in a way.
I remember doing that, but my memory was of Reagan Carter. So fuck you, kids.
Are you aging yourself right now?
Yep, I'm old. I know that. Look at the gray in my beard.
You didn't get that just for mail? Just for men I sent in the mail?
No. No.
Yeah, I must have got lost. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to let us.
Whoa.
Whoa. What?
Now
what?
the most important question of the night.
We were getting there. I'm sorry. I'll let you take it from here, sir.
So there's this thing we've done when we've had guests, and that's this thing called Askhole, and it's askhole.io, and they sell these little. It's like a conversational card game. You can buy it there, and it's really cool. And I ordered a set and absolutely loved it. And they have a web version that you can do that. So I will give me a number, preferably not too high a number, because I'm going to click that many times, and it'll land on a question. I'll ask you this question.
Is there like a number range, like 1 to 10, or
whatever you deem is necessary? But yeah, just don't make it too big, because I've got to click that many times. Like if you said 500, then I'd hate you forever.
Yeah, that would. Okay. Well, let's just crank it up to 11 then.
11. All right. 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Interesting one for today. What is the most significant thing you've ever changed your mind about?
Ooh, that's interesting.
This is question number 76 from Askhole.
I think I know the answer to his question. I won't say anything.
The most significant thing I've ever changed my mind on.
I will be honest. Okay, I will be honest whether he gets it or not.
I don't know. I've been so go with the flow. A lot of the times I just do stuff. I don't even really think about it. That's how I got married the first time. So. Oh man, I'm trying to. Maybe having my second kid. I was kind of on the fence about it for a while, but ultimately it was a good decision to have my son.
That's a good worthy answer.
I was gonna say relationship wise. I was gonna say it was a relationship question. So I guess I'll give myself half credit. I was definitely I didn't think it was gonna be political at all. Did not think it was gonna be political at all. The other one I was leaning to is like joining clubs or moving places and stuff of that nature. So I was just kind of like,
well, I haven't had a choice in where I've moved in a long time. try not to let the politics really sway a whole lot of things either. I mean, relationships, yeah, that would have been a good guess. I think I've had a couple in the past where I was just kind of like, oh, maybe I'll go out with this person for a little while. And I was like, no, that's probably not a good idea. And it's probably benefited me to listen to my heart on those cases. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Another thing we do is normally I get the final thought.
Oh, you're giving him the final thought.
We normally give the guest the final thought. But I do have a couple quotes I do want to throw out there. And one is a founder quote because I just can't. Well, kind of a founder quote. And one is another. But the one. This is from the Declaration of Independence. So keep this in mind, Jake, when I talk about it is time for the great divorce. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. And to institute new government if they so decide, but whatever. And the last quote is actually Martin Luther King. One has not only a legal but moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was a letter that he wrote while he was in prison.
Mm-hmm.
That
letters from a Birmingham jail or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was dude. That
I think it was like
that is a very long, but I think everybody should go and listen to that. Letters from a Birmingham jail to he wrote it to like it was a media outlet if I'm not mistaken.
Something.
Yeah, very good one. All right.
But all right. Final thought.
Oh.
for our not a real libertarian.
Oh yeah, I mean, like we said, none of us really are. So I mean, there's probably we might have some other libertarians on here. I don't know. But probably the odds are not in the favor, but
they're not real libertarians either, man.
Yeah, but they're probably the first ones to call us out if there's a comment section after this. So, no, I mean those are actually some really good quotes, especially the first one, the Declaration of Independence. I'd be curious to see if it ever played out. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but it'll be interesting to see it when it does, because, like I said, we have so many fractured groups out there now that there'll be a lot of people vying for that what a government we're going to establish in the wake of it all. So, but that would be my final thought.
Interesting times ahead.
Make sure you go vote in the elections, the 2022. They're right around the corner.
Absolutely.
Telling you, man. That's
kind of an interesting take, yeah. I mean, look, dude. If you can, like, here's the cool thing, right? If you get the Democrats out of office, you're voting in a bunch of Republicans, and probably half of the Republicans you vote in, they'll have no spine, so they'll probably cave anyway. But at least you'll have, like, not Democrats. Because am I a full-fledged Republican? No, but I'm a conservative, so I'm thinking, like, I think if you err on the side of conservatism versus neoliberalism, I think you're in good hands. But
Yeah.
So hey, vote in 2022.
Or don't.
I'm just saying. I'm just
follow your own voice.
Yeah, you do that.
Don't listen to a bunch of dumbasses on a fucking podcast. Make your own decisions.
Also true.
And absolutely don't believe what the media tells you. Fucking, if you're gonna vote, research the shit yourself.
I think
learn the shit.
That. Chris said that. Yeah, do what Chris said. That was his first word, not his final word, but do what Chris said.
No.
But yeah, we are eternally thankful for you joining us. We appreciate you. Darian, I'm sure, can talk with you offline if you guys want to start your own militia or something, or I don't know, start your splinter political party down a new path. That'd be great. Bro it up.
Well, I hear he's a Tool fan.
Yep. Oh, dude, we haven't even touched the surface on that. I can out fan anybody when it comes to Tool.
He got married.
No,
at
I
a
bet you.
concert.
Yeah, you probably can. I mean, as much as I love him,
He got married.
I'm not. I'm not a super fan.
We did. Jake Biggs. We got married at a Tool concert. The Tool kind of I don't want to say introduced my wife and I, but that's how we kind of first started bonding and talking. Was over Tool when she was talking about going to her first show.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you stepped on her in a Tool mosh pit or something like that.
Nope.
And then you like picked her hand up gently and you looked into her eyes and you realized it was true love. It was amore. No. Okay.
No.
Random dating site. You met her and you asked her if she liked Tool. She said yes, and you said
No. We met. We had met and we'd kind of been chatting, and she mentioned that she was going to go see Tool for the first time. It's like, oh, or she posted on social media she was going to see Tool for the first time. I'm like, oh shit, you're going to love it. They're fucking amazing. And
the rest is history.
Yeah.
And then had you moved to Idaho by then, or were y'all still in Sacramento?
No, Bay Area.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and then they picked up and moved to Idaho. But
The United States.
I'll be here waiting for you in Texas, my friend.
Now we'll see.
We'll see. But anyway,
honestly, if with a great divorce happens, I think it'll start with Texas.
Well, like I said, I'll vouch for you. I could probably vouch for like 5 people. I think that's what the prerequisite is. I get to vouch for 5 people to immigrate to Texas, so you'll be one of them. But
well, my daughter's in Texas too, so
well, she's good. She's good, unless she lives in Austin.
yeah, she lives outside of Austin.
No, she's still not good. But yeah, thank you again, Chris. Thank you for joining us. Always interesting to poke someone else's brain, and
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, hopefully we have you back on again. Hopefully Darian's like, hey, we need to get that Libertarian back on. We'll see how it goes. Normally he just wants to talk about like cooking and stuff, so fuck that guy. But we will catch you when we catch you. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, comment. Once again, we're still waiting for Darian to get a new profile picture since he doesn't have a webcam that works because his back doesn't work.
Webcam works, the back doesn't.
Yeah. And yeah, with that being said, I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
And this is Jake and Drake Show. We'll see y'all next week.